Welcome in everyone, I am Mr. Wilson, a content creator for RedPLT Gaming, a veteran-founded, owned, and operated esports organization, and for Panda Army. Please come check us out, our websites, our social medias, discords, merchandise, links provided in the description. Now let's get underway. The new chapter is here, Portrait of a Murder, coming with Carmina Mora, the artist. But this video is not about the artist, it's about the Bloodweb. How it works, how it operates, how the entity navigates through it, how to be efficient with it. Now, I wanted to start at level 1 with this new character to help along, but, well, my mic was muted. So we are here into level 22. Now, the Bloodweb is a Dead by Daylight's way of leveling up a character. You have a series of nodes that you unlock by purchasing with in-game currency called blood points. Now these nodes do have different values, such as the commons be 3,000 blood points, the uncommons, the yellows, are 4,000, the green 5,000, purple 6,000, and the pink, the ultra rares, will be 7,000 blood points. Also, any event items or add-ons, they will be 3,000 blood points, the same as the commons. Now, how do we get blood points? We get blood points by playing the game. There are 4 categories each role: objectives, survival, altruism, and boldness. They are fairly self-explanatory. The objectives being the generators, totems, the exit gates. Survival is just that, survival. In the case of this match, I did not survive. Altruism, including things like healing and unhooking, be those unhooks safe or unsafe, although safe unhooks do garner more points. And the boldness, that is the chases and being within the killer's terror radius without being noticed. Now these are multiplicative points. And the evader emblem, along with that boldness, you gain, well, this is more toward the pipping aspect, but you gain more points in the evader emblem the closer you are to a killer without being noticed. It's within 5 meters is, I think, 6 times the normal points. It begins at 64 meters. When you're within 64 meters of the killer, you start gaining evader points. Now, escaping chases, you also gain more points. If you lose a chase, you get half of the points. Now, the chases are also multiplicative. With 0 to 15 seconds, it's 1 point per second. Then 15 to 30 seconds, it'll be 25 points per second, and they continue on in 15-second blocks. Upwards towards 60 seconds plus, it's 250 points per second, something crazy. But that is more for the pipping. We are talking more blood points. But that ties in with the boldness here. And the 4 categories that killers can earn blood points in are brutality, deviousness, hunter, and sacrifice. The brutality being your hits, your downs, your bleeding, making the survivors bleed. The deviousness is the use of your powers. So like the doctor's shock, the artist, her Crodukins. The hunter is your finding survivors, your chases, and your winning chases. The sacrifice being the kills, the sacrifices, and the hooks. So all 8 categories, 4 for survivor, 4 for killer, have a maximum of 8,000 points each. Let's see here, that's almost a perfect game I had here. It wasn't really a good game, to be honest, but, well, the points say otherwise. So we see at 8,000 in 3 categories here, and nearly 8,000 in sacrifice, but I exceeded the 32,000 threshold because of offerings. Blood point offerings. Do not skimp on those blood point offerings. They do definitely help. Indeed, blood point offerings. Do not skimp on the blood point offerings. For example, this sacrificial cake here will increase post-game blood points by 105%. On top of the 100%, provided you get 4 stacks of the barbecue and chili, which adds another 100% post-game points. So between the two, that would be 205% increased points. Likewise, the party streamers, another 100%. These 2 in particular apply to all gamers in the lobby. For killers, other offerings to look for would be the Survivor Pudding. Grants 100 25% bonus blood points in all categories. And the Hollow Shell grants 25% bonus blood points in all categories. Now, this is the killer side. The survivors do have similar offerings. It's the escape cake and an unsealed envelope would be the equivalent of the survivor between these two offerings here. Don't be shy in using them. You will get more. These sacrificial cakes is from an event. It's the anniversary cakes. It comes every June or July, depending on when Behavior puts it out. But in the summer is Dead by Daylight's anniversary and a chance to load up on anniversary cakes. Next year will likely grant 106% bonus blood points. Now, on top of playing the game, we have in the archives here, we have Riffs that come with challenges to be completed by both survivors and killers that you can claim for even more blood points. They come out every so often. There's plenty of them. Still have to complete this last one. But if you run out of the current rift, you can come up and hit the compendium, and you have all of these tomes, 1 through 8. Click on any of them, and there are 4 pages each. Like you see here in tome 3, I have all 4 pages to do yet, so there is a great amount of blood points here. Not a great amount, but there's pretty good amount. And Behavior recently has increased, finally, the blood points in the Riffs, so you get higher rewards now. So you can complete those challenges and store those challenges, sort of like a bank or a safety deposit box that you can hold on to for new characters, such as this. Now, I did start leveling up with 1 million blood points, the cap. If you do cap at 1 million and you receive other blood points, say from Behavior or codes or the Rift, it will be added on top of that cap. So if you have a 30,000 point Rift that you're turning in and you're capped at 1 million, you will have 1,030,000 points. So you are not denied your rewards. But back into the Bloodweb, we are starting to get into the higher levels here. Now, levels 1 through 9, you don't have to worry about the entity coming through and starting to eat up the nodes. Level 10 makes an appearance. Level 11, he comes in too late. He just shows up at the very last node and does nothing there. I don't know why that is, but he just doesn't bother level 11. From level 12 on up, the entity will be present. Start eating up the nodes. You don't have to worry too much about that until you get to the bigger Bloodwebs. And that's where you want to start being efficient, especially when you start getting the double-perk and triple-perk Bloodwebs. We are still kind of low at level 22. Being a new character, I'm just going to blast right toward the perks this early on. But we will be talking about how we can force the entity to move where you want to move and to get rid of things you don't want, to help save the blood points, to help ease the leveling process. But for now, we are just cycling through until we get the double perks. We'll start up there, because at this point, I don't care too much. There's not a whole lot of play with the entity on the Bloodwebs, as the Bloodwebs are a sort of minigame. Sort of like a board game, really, with the entity. Hey, a Mori. Yes, please. I have no Moris. Now, there will be times in these Bloodwebs where you see items, add-ons, or perks that you just really want or need. So you're going to go right toward them anyway. Efficiency be damned. I do that quite a lot. Oh, we are now in the double perk territory, starting at level 26. What we are going to do now is start looking at the entity and what we have here. Now, the entity, how it spawns, it will always start at a perk. If a perk is available, it will always start at a perk. Now, when you select a perk, it will force the entity, no matter where it is on the web, if it's on the web, if it hasn't even shown at all. When you select a perk, it will spawn again. It will begin with a perk. If not, then it will take one of these outside nodes. Now, there are 4 of them right here, so there's a 25% chance that it could spawn on any of these 4. If it were not for the perk. Now I'm going to come in for Oppression. Now the entity is going to spawn on Play With Your Food up here. And he's going to come down this line and trail down here. Actually, if I had taken these and spawned... Anyway. That's a thing for a future web. Gonna come along into the next web, see what we get. There is a Sloppy Butcher and Tier 2 Oppression. Now, I do like Sloppy. I like to have Sloppy, but this is Tier 2, one step closer to Tier 3. And if you don't like Tier 3, it'll just wipe out Oppression from all future Bloodwebs. It will stop clogging up the RNG. So, we are going to... yeah, we're going to go up this way anyway. So the entity is going to spawn here once I select Oppression. After that, it will move onto this purple add-on and then move over to this Iridescent Feather is the name of this Eerie add-on. This entity will try to travel along the outside as best it can. So we know it won't be going here. It should come over to this Ultra Rare add-on. Even though I didn't buy that, so I kind of forced it. That was a poor example. That's alright. We will have many. We're going to see our first cut. So I'm going to come up here to get Jolt. The entity will spawn on Spies from the Shadow here. It will travel down this line. Once it gets to this node, it's going to wipe out this other one here. So we're not going to have to pay the 5,000 blood points to open this node. And that's where it all begins. Trying to cut off the Bloodwebs. To spare as many blood points as you possibly can. Now, here at level 30, we started with teachable perks. Is it Grim Embrace? I don't want for any of my killers. I don't want that perk to clog up any other Bloodweb, so I'm going to sacrifice this one node for the rest of the leveling process with the artist, so other killers won't have to worry about Grim Embrace clogging up their Bloodwebs. Because the grind is huge, and I still have so much leveling to do on all of them. So we are just going to come down and snag that up. Trying to find a short line. Unfortunately, the entity spawned here, so we don't get any 2 for 1 or 2 plus for 1. There can be massive cuts. We will provide examples of massive cuts once we find a Bloodweb that has one available. Here we are again. We have a good example here. So when I come up here to take Fearmonger, the entity will spawn on the other perk. They will travel up these lines. Once it gets here onto this yellow node, it will cut off these other 2. It'll just destroy them. So this is a 3-for-1 node right there. Here comes the entity. Now watch it cut off that tail there, that whole arm. So that was a 3-for-1 node right there. So this was another 8,000 I did not have to spend. Every little bit. We're at level 35. So now we have our second teachable perk. They come every 5 levels. They are in order if you hit the F1 or come up and hit the FO. If you come up and hit the character info. These are in order. So your first teachable perk will be at level 30, which in this case is Grim Embrace. Scourge Hook Pain Resonance will show up at level 35. And Hex Pentimento at level 40. All these perks are in order from 30, 35, 40. We are going to get Pain Resonance. Along with putting 2 party streamers. That is not something you see very often. 2 party streamers on one Bloodweb. So after 1,000,000 points, I got to level 36. I'm down now 40,000. So 1 capped at 1 million, will get you about this area. The low 30s, upper 20s, low 30s, depending on what you do with the Bloodwebs. Now, let's see here. Once I take this perk here and the entity spawns on Grim Embrace, I'm not sure if the entity will travel up or laterally. There seems to be a 50-50 chance it will go left or right, but it will keep to the outside. Let's find out where it goes. To the left. Okay, so once it comes up here, it will cut off just the party streamers. Never mind. Let's snag it and get out of here. I'm down to 8,000 blood points here. Now let's go back to the archives here. Into the Riffs, the compendium. Let's gather up our blood points we have stored up. Go back to our old Riffs here. Redeem our prizes. These aren't exactly well banked. They've been used before. We're back up to almost 500,000. We continue the leveling process. There's not too many plays to be made with the entity on this Bloodweb either. Not getting a whole lot of luck. But we'll cut to some better examples. But this is part of the RNG. You don't always get what you want. Now the entity here, once it spawns on Grim Embrace, it will keep to the outside. Hit this silver bells, and then come back inside. We'll snag this vibrant obituary. Probably continue along to this. I don't think it'll cut that off because it is connected to this central here. See that? The entity tries to keep as best it can on the outside. On the outside. Just kind of going haphazardly for the remainder of it. The initial play was done. Now once the entity comes up here, it's going to cut off this other node here. So this is a 2-for-1 node. Another 2-for-1 node. Once it gets here, it will cut off that node. There it goes. I'll watch it cut this one off. Then the rest we just kind of go. Level 40. So now we are in the triple perk territory at level 40. We do have Pentamento available. I do think I want that teachable right away. Should have helped explain the entity spawning there, but let's do it next web. There are plenty. So when you select a perk from a triple perk Bloodweb, there is a 50-50 chance it will spawn on either of the other two. Fortunately, it did spawn on this one. Yeah, it's just gonna... The entity is just gonna make a big loop. So it's gonna be out of our hair for a while. Don't have to worry about it. Grab these, no problem. Gotta take a look at the lines, see where the entity is going, understand how it behaves. So when I take a Discordance right here, we got a 50-50 chance that it will spawn on Grim Embrace or Bamboozle. On the teachable perk that I don't want to be teachable, at least not yet. Not till all the other killers have most, if not all, the perks. I really have no intention of using this new perk. I simply don't. So the entity will be coming down here onto this yellow node, back into this other yellow node, up into this cut coin. Once it gets down into this common add-on, this node, it will cut off these other ones. So this is a 3-for-1 node. looking at these patterns here. So, let's see. I'm going to come up this way because I want the Mori. And while I'm here, I'll get this perk, Monster Shrine. It's useless, but, you know, it's there. And it'll spawn the entity. Perhaps it will spawn on Play With Your Food up here, and it'll travel down. Then it'll cut off these two right there. Wouldn't be so bad. That'd be more... Nope. It started right there. I respawned on the other perk. But that's the chance. You know, it's a 50-50 chance. Just flipping a coin. Very good play would be come up to get this perk to force the entity to spawn on one of the other two. But I don't want this to be teachable, so this Bloodweb will not be efficient at all. We have a 2-for-1 off a common. That's better than nothing, sure. So this guy is just going to travel around. Going to come down here, and then, no, it's going to... Here's another 2-for-1. Well, I'm not buying any of these. Just going to have a couple of 2-for-1s. We got a few 2-for-1s. So it's going to come up here and cut this one off. So I have a 2-for-1 here, 2-for-1, 2-for-1. Not too bad. No, I stayed on the outside. That's right. Stayed on the outside. Let's see, where is the other perk? Boy, there's not much to be done here, I don't think. He's just going to travel along outsides. If he comes up here, I might get a couple of 2-for-1s. That'd be nice, but I am going to come up for this tier 3 perk to get it out of the Bloodwebs. Stop clogging up the RNG, and it's, hey, Hex 3, Tier 3 Ruin. That is a good rune to have. It doesn't run along halfway haphazardly at this point. So we're down at 75,000 blood points here. I don't know if I have any more Riffs. I think I do. In this Bloodweb, I'm going to come... Where's the other perk? I kind of lost sight of it. Come up for this tier 2 up on the top left. There'll be a chance the entity spawns here on the bamboozle. If it does, it will move up here and have a 3-for-1 node, cutting off these two. The same with the Grim Embrace down here. There would be a 2-for-1 trade-off. So let's grab this perk up here. I took up bamboozle. So once it moves up this node here, it's going to cut off these other two. Anyway, I think we're starting to have an idea of how the entity moves, how it operates, perhaps how you can force it down a path. I only have 34,000 blood points. So let's take up this tier 3 perk, Discordance. It spawned up here. So once it gets down here, it's going to cut off these three. So here is a 4-for-1 node. So the entity will travel down to this green node to this common, and it will cut off these three. So here is 7, 13, 16,000, 19,000 blood points. They're not going to have to buy because the entity will cut it off. Come up along this other path. Oh, right. It is connected to another open node down here, so it wouldn't cut that off quite yet, because you have a chance to get to it still. One last Bloodweb. At level 50, we start getting 4 perks on the Bloodweb. Quadruple perks. Now, in the case of this web, I really want to come into this area. There are 2 tier 3 perks and a Mori and a pudding for more blood points that I'd really want. But for the sake of efficiency, I'm gonna come up to this perk up here and hope the entity will spawn on either one of these 2 perks over here. If it does, then it will eventually move on to this node right here, which will cut off this entire section. This is a 9-for-1 node right here. 39,000 blood points. They wouldn't have to spend. So let's cross our fingers. Sure enough. So in 2 more nodes, all of this is going to be knocked out. I should have closed this off first. There we go. But you get the idea here. At any rate, I hope this has helped in some way. These are the Bloodwebs. They're fun to navigate, fun to play around. Sometimes you still make mistakes. Such is life. Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you got something out of this. And again, please come by and check out the Red Platoon Nation and the Panda Army. Information is provided in the description. Well, that will do it for us, and we will see you next time.